Okay, we are live, and I will give everyone a chance to kind of hop on. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the live stream. Tonight, I am here with Akron Soul Train Artist in Residence, Earl O. James.
Hello.
To take a tour of his awesome studio space. A huge thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to support artists like Earl. And Earl is a sculptor who employs a diverse range of materials and processes to create his work. And we're going to get a chance to kind of see how he does that, how he's built up his studio, and kind of a behind the scenes look at everything going on. So let me go ahead and turn the camera around. And can you start with a quick introduction?
Hello, everyone. Earl James, and this is my studio. Welcome.
Yeah.
So, my hope is that I won't blither too much, and Mail will sort of in the end. So, we'll take it from there. I'd love to take you on a tour of our shop.
Yeah.
It's our shop because it's a shared studio. Share with my amazing artist wife and partner, Linda Zmina. And so, I'll give you a little.
Yeah, how long have you guys been here?
1989, she, Linda, and a friend, they came out of the Institute of Art, Wendy Selker Robbins, and they wanted to build a glass studio. And our instructor, Brent Young, had given them enough information that, how to manage or build or find the parts and information to build a shop. And so they started the building of the studio. They found some spaces that were, not spaces that you wanted to associate with, but eventually they found this spot. And so we have been here since 1989.
Yeah. And if you hear any background noise, you did say that all glass shops tend to be by railroad tracks, right?
Most studios you'll find. Ours, there's Superior Hot Glass, there's Benchmark Studio. There are studios, and outside there's usually trains going by. So
wow.
I'm not sure what attracts us to the trains or maybe it's attracting us.
Yeah, so
sometimes it's nice to see them and see the decorative trains.
Ooh.
Yeah, we see like circus going by. We usually know when the wars are happening because there's military equipment going by.
Yeah.
You can see a wind turbine on one will take up about 3 train cars.
Wow.
Yeah. So there goes my blithering.
No, I love it. So anyone watching, just keep in mind if a train goes by, it might get loud, but we'll continue. Okay.
And if there's good graphics, you should actually poke your nose.
Yeah, we can take a peek. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll start over here. So this is kind of your sculpture fabrication space, right?
Yeah, it is our fabrication studio space. Most of the equipment in our shop. I'm sorry, I'm walking away from.
No, that's
most
good.
of the equipment in our shop was built here. Furnaces, we've built 2 or 3, if not 4 or 5 glass blowing furnace in that spot on the floor there. And our last one has actually lasted us 15 years or so because it's just a different way of making them. But over here, if I'm not trying to fabricate parts for another sculpture, as you see, I got fascinated with just trying to shape sheet metal. So the idea is these are like beads or flats or that will eventually be strung onto these forms. At some time. So I got caught up in making a cone, figuring out how to make a cone from paper, and I pretend I can do math and do all that stuff, but I usually just look on YouTube, but somebody will tell you how.
Yeah. So over here you can kind of like do all of the metal fabrication that you need to.
There's a MIG welder, we have an old stick welder, we have a TIG welder, and we can put things together and it stays together, but we would never pass some fine welding.
It's good enough for fine art.
Yeah. Well, we have some equipment that's left over from Linda's dad, who was a machinist. So we have all kinds of stuff. We'll go out and we'll find a metal bandsaw, which is one of my favorite tools. Now you cut metal on this thing here.
Oh, yeah.
I found an anvil. Always wanted one, but they're expensive. Then I found one. It wasn't expensive at all. It's not one of the fancy ones.
Yeah.
So, and this is a metal lathe, which I can do rudimentary stuff on there just to make it work, but I'm trying to figure out how to put that together.
Have you kind of like started to teach yourself all of this stuff, or?
I have friends who knows how to do a little bit, so
Yeah.
you know, I'll pick their brains, and then I'll find an old book, you know, how to do this. And then, you know, yeah, then you go and try something. Not enough to break yourself is my mission, but
It's usually a good goal.
Yeah. So there's a whole castle of steel and pieces, parts that we have down there. There's even a fire pit that I built.
Oh, wow.
Because all of a sudden the solos came out, and, you know, they're kind of cool where
Yeah.
advertising for solo, but you know, so,
Okay.
I'll take you on the general tour for.
Yeah, let's go.
So this saw is one of the first things Linda, my wife Linda, the studio mate, bought. And so we've used it to cut glass, to cut bricks, for building our furnaces and everything else. So there's a diamond blade on there, and that will do just about anything. So,
Oh, that's very cool.
So as we move through the studio, most of like this is a polishing wheel, and it has an old feel to it because instead of running plumbing to it, it worked for us the day one with a bucket and the drip system. So yeah, you can see the streak up the back of the wall there.
Yeah. So this is all for glass now,
This is
right?
all for glass, yeah.
Okay.
This is the final polish of a glass. This is cerium oxide, so you get a high polish with it. This is pumice, which is a little bit rougher, and this is all just part of. These are the last two steps when you're
Yeah.
making a piece of glass.
And glasswork is kind of like your bread and butter for the studio,
It is
right?
absolutely my bread and butter.
Yeah.
A lot of our equipment is pretty old. This is silicon carbide way of grinding and polishing. And so this is 100 grit. So there's a whole slurry of water that will come down, and this wheel spins, and you're going back and forth with a piece of glass and checking it to flatten it out. And you go from the 100 to a 200 grit, and then you go to a 400, and then to a pumice and a belt, and so we have all the stuff that you have options. You can do a lot of different things than just finishing glass.
Oh, yeah. That is so cool. I love that you kind of stick to the old ways of doing things.
And, you know, we have the equipment, and
Yeah.
we still have product that we can afford to buy. You could go. One of these wheels can be converted to a diamond grinding wheel, where you get a number of magnetic discs that will sit on these metal wheels, and so you can take it off to rough grinds. So instead of having 6 of this, a modern studio doesn't need 6 pieces of equipment, but we love them, we have them, so we
Yeah.
use them.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah. This is our furnace, and it's the last furnace we built. Studio mate, our past studio mate and I, and Linda built this furnace. And then he went off to build his own furnace and build his own glass studio.
Yeah.
So this is what is called a freestanding pot. It's in here. This furnace holds about 270 pounds of glass. There's a pot inside a crucible, and so the face will come off when the crucible cracks or when it just wears out, and then you put another one in, close it up. It's fired with natural gas, and my working temperature when I'm blowing glass is about 2100 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, wow.
So glass comes out. This is called a barber table, which is just for shaping the glass, initial shaping. And this is where we want the pipes. This is called a glory hole, which is just a big chamber that has a flame that comes in the side, and then that's where all the glass is reheated. So if you have a blowpipe, which is this thing here, which is a hollow pipe, and so you can blow through it. So you gather the glass in the furnace, and here you need to reheat it. You do all your reheating here. And then this is the bench. This is where everything happens. If you are the gaffer, you are here, your assistant will bring, I don't have assistants. If I'm lucky enough, my partner Linda will be my assistant. So here, and your work tools are here, blocks are here, which is just a bucket full of water with some tools. And then you heat and blow glass, and every time you need to reheat, you're here again. So lately, this thing is doubled as my forge.
That's so cool.
If I need to shape a piece of metal or do something, I can roll my anvil here, and I left my tongs here. Here are my tongs, and I use it as a forge sometimes.
Very cool. So you built all of this from scratch?
Yep. So, as I said, we built all of this from
Yes.
scratch. I will never take credit for doing it all because it was a team effort.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's all run with natural gas. And once you're finished making something, it has to cool. And so that part of it, this is where our ovens come into play. And so these ovens, this door system, we learned from our teacher Brent Young. It's like a cantilever system, so you load work in here, and this temperature in this one will depend on the glass itself, like maybe 950 degrees or 800 is where the glass needs to stabilize. So depending on the thickness of the glass, it could take a day or 3 days to cool down to this temperature.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So we have a number of these. Crossing. So these are like blocks. Or optic molds. So they're patterned inside of it. It's made by a lot of companies. There's John Steiner down actually in Kent that makes ours. And so it's a pattern that when you take the hot glass and push it in there, you pick up this pattern, and then you can work on the glass.
Oh, okay. I don't know. My only really thing with glass is that Netflix show and a little bit of some of my friends. But this is so fascinating to see all of the different tools.
Actually, this season, Leanna Quaid was on there, and she went to the Institute of Art.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so Leanna Quaid was really great. It was nice to say, hey, I know that. So this is a number of Linda's pieces. These are some of her work. This one is called House Finder, and the idea is that when you're looking for a house and you read the little descriptions, what they say, like not a drive-by or a must-see. So we were looking for a house, and so it was kind of born out of that idea. And this is what she calls a trough, and it's the idea of universal usage instead of like a cup or bowl being singular. This trough idea is for multiple uses of it.
It's so interesting seeing, like, we'll get a chance to see some of your work and all the different things that you can do with these materials.
We also came out of the same school, and one of the things we do have in common is we work really heavy. Our boss tends to be not Italian. There are some of us who kind of went that route, but mostly our work has some mats to it.
Yeah.
The corners with some boat oars. They're actually cast iron.
Wow.
I did those years ago. I went to Alfred University for graduate school.
Okay.
And so time to time we go to a local company that actually did engines for ships. So we'll take our little sand casting down there, and they'll pour them for us. And
that's very cool.
Yeah. That's what I came up with.
Oh, that's so cool.
So,
Yeah.
So we've circled the shop a little bit, and we're back to where.
Yeah, that's okay.
So back to where we started.
Yeah.
And this is what I do, my everyday work. It's blown glass. These are called flower weights, and the idea is what a flower may look like from the inside.
Ooh.
So I make these. This is one of my blown vessel forms. So they're functional, non-functional, and the idea is that you have the surface, and why not use the surface decoratively? So, or express some idea on the surface itself, while the piece still has some functionality if you choose to.
And then you have one of your sculpture pieces also
one of my
here.
sculpture pieces. Yeah, this one is called All Day Rain, and so on the back of it are these pin-like projections, which the idea is that the pelting of that idea of rain all day. And it's just more or less about the pressures of just day-to-day life generally. You know, some days you wake up and by the end of the day it's almost non-stop. It's just that continuous bombardment of something, and just sort of trying to get make your way through it. So there's a figure. I use birds a lot in some of my work, and the idea of the boat, which is the idea of conveyance or moving forward.
How is it kind of balancing the maybe more functional glasswork with the more conceptual sculpture?
The conceptual part of it, it's just they're narratives, and that's about the only connection. My work tends to have something maybe figurative in it, you know, a bird or a head here. So there's something that's always sort of figurative. Sometimes they're on tables. I do things with chairs. I like chairs. So I'll make some work that reflects like the ladder back chair. And it's the chair to me is a place of comfort. It's like home. You know, it's when you go home and you have your comfortable seat that you sort of occupy. And, you know, whatever's going on, you know, take a seat and relax for a minute before it starts again. And the bird, in a way, for me, it's almost like it's hope. You know, it's the sun's gonna come out tomorrow. Okay? All I know is art. Okay, the bird said, there's some land, dry land.
So you work with so many different materials. Do you have a favorite?
I like fabricating steel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not very good at it, and I fight it, but I love the fight. You know, it's just trying to figure out how to shape something like this. But I can get it here, and I'm really trying to get it to go all the way up here. But I haven't figured that out. But I like the idea that I can use what I know to make something that I have in my head. So I wanted to make this look like a bead. You know, like part of a jewelry. So call it jewelry for giants, I guess. And, so the chevron shape, I really like that. 2 pieces. So I learned to make the cones. So I put them together. You know, I can put them on a loop. I can do whatever I want. You know, the idea of just making parts and bringing them together, which is pretty much what all of those are.
Yeah.
The boat's different. The bronze head. The bird is shaped wood. And wood is amazing. I discovered that a few years ago. I went to an exotic wood shop with my friend, and the guy in the store just took a wet towel and wiped it on this piece of wood that I'd never seen, and the pattern showed up and the color showed up, and it was just like, woo.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just
like
amazing
every
stuff.
material is kind of magic in a certain way.
But then he decided he didn't want to be a part of all these trees getting cut down.
Oh.
So he stopped using exotic wood and just found more sustainable products to use. So I try to do the same thing also, but I mean I can't afford exotic wood. How exotic do you have to get? You know, anything beyond like pine or something.
Yeah. So you have this floor, and then there's also another floor.
Yeah, second floor. This is where we started out. It's about 3,500 square feet here, and 4 of us have from time to time occupied the space. We have these individual spaces that are kind of assigned to each of us. Yeah. Oh, I didn't show you my sculpture.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm so crazy. I took the idea from the anvil, and I decided I wanted to fabricate an anvil, and so I did it. And those branches, those leaf forms, I learned to make from my friend Steve Yusko taught class, and I took it and down in Penland, and so I wanted to make these leaves and associate it with the anvil. And the idea of the piece is that things move slowly, almost glacially, and the anvil has a sense of weight.
Yeah.
But the idea is like it's still a possibility for movement, and the tree, the plant form, it's moving forward also. You know, like the young shoots kind of going off on its own, trying to find light. The tendril is trying to hold on to some ground, and even the oldest of the leaves are trying to hold on as long as they can, so the younger leaves find some foothold. So that's sort of like,
that's so poetic. It's so nice.
I just made it up, I understand.
No, I love like the weight, and I love that you're just the shape of the anvil inspires you so much. Yeah. Okay.
Someday I'd like to practice printing, and so that was one of my early just ink stamp images.
Yeah.
So everything I'm trying to do is almost right in here, except for this piece is Linda's piece. It's called Kin, and it has a seafoam green glass. I can't help but to, keep pushing because she makes amazing work. And
Yeah.
she's quiet about it, she won't say anything. But this frilly part here, this delicate part here, it's just the glass sort of disintegrating. But the idea is like two houses coming together and creating a common wall, common bond.
Yeah.
So,
should we adventure
let's go
upstairs?
upstairs. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take you guys with me on an adventure to see some of the glasswork on the way.
Let's take the elevator.
We're going to take the elevator. Let's.
Wait, look at this. This is so cool.
It is.
All you tool lovers would love this. My friend Brett Marshall, he was moving to England, he and his wife, and he's like, I don't have anything to do with it. Do you want to buy it? I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And it was way cheap. So, and this is our scrap heap that we'll find stuff that we can make. Some new stuff, some old stuff. Oh, it's funny,
Okay.
if we get stuck,
If we get stuck, the
then we'll
life.
try to park in 2 minutes. So this used to be a paint factory. It's called Par Paint. And so they made paint, I think they made the pigment on the 3rd floor. And then you have to wait, sorry.
Yeah, it's a little loud.
And they drizzle down to the 2nd floor.
Okay, we made it.
We made it. We used to like not come in this elevator without our phones. I didn't tell you that before. So, meet the sawdust buckets.
The sawdust bucket.
Yeah, so my project, or my anchor project, involved wood. So instead of fabricating steel, I wanted to incorporate wood. So we have a friend who had a tree in his yard. It came down, it was a basswood tree. And basswood is soft and it's carves well. And so he said, do you want it? I'm like, yeah. What do I do? And he's like, I can slab it out for you. So he cut it up into 2-inch slabs, 4-inch slabs, gave it to me 2.5 years ago. And since then it's been in my studio. But over the time that it's been in my studio, it's twisted up into boards that used to be straight, but now look like that. I didn't dry them properly. So, from what I had to pick out the good ones, and then my trusty partner, helper, wife, Linda, helped me to clean them down. So, when my month started, we started to process the wood. And
Okay.
so, from what you'll see the results are. So this is how they came out. Some of them came out pretty nice.
Yeah.
Right, so those 2 buckets, barrel, another bucket, that's all sawdust from this.
From plane. Did you hand plane all of it?
Oh, no. This is
Okay.
an electric plane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I borrowed this from my friend.
I was gonna say.
She was hand planing that. And
Wow.
so my friend has gardens, so he'll get the sawdust for composting.
Oh,
So it won't go
nice.
to waste.
Yeah, and this is what you're working on for your Akron Soul Train
Yes.
residency
Yep,
project.
yep. My anchor piece is what I like to call it.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the second floor of our studio. This is another 6,000 square feet that we sort of fell into because when a number of artists had this floor and then they moved out, and so the landlord asked us if we wanted it, and it was in a way to kind of control our own destiny because we didn't know who would be here, dancers,
Yeah.
you know, or what was going on, if we could control noise and all
Yeah.
that. So we took it, and it was a very reasonable price, except you have to heat it. Once it gets so reasonable, you have to heat it. So anyway, so we use it as, this is our wood shop. It's great because I have it to process.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
our sandblaster that my friend Dan let me hold on to as long as I want. So this is an area that we use for mainly everything moves, so we can use the space for other.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a flex slash wood
it is.
space. Yeah.
So because of the art fair, we created an entire infrastructure just for going to shows, setting up shows. And at one point I did shows, Linda did shows. Sometimes we go to Florida.
Oh,
and I
wow.
ran 2 tents to do 2 shows or 3 shows. And so this whole area has tents, and this bucket is the result of a couple of microburst storms that we've had at shows,
Oh, wow.
and a couple of tent tops that, yeah. So over the years we've done shows. We've
Yeah.
had a tornado.
Wow.
We've had microbursts. We've had shows where you just sit and watch the water flow down the street.
Oh, I bet.
As a mix of things. So yeah, so we have all of that as infrastructure. 10 boxes to take to work, and everything you could need for a show. You know.
Wow.
And
Okay.
someday it could all be yours if anybody wants to do the art fair. So this space is actually Linda's painting space that over the years we sort of taken away and used for other things. What we wanted to preset our tents. We had this 10 by 10 space marked out, which is generally what an art fair space is.
Yeah.
And just to do a mock-up of what the show should
Oh,
look
wow.
like.
So you would do like a whole setup?
No,
or-
just the plotting. How do I put this wall up?
Okay.
Have a corner space. How do I want to set the tent up? So from show to show, it may be different. So we
Yeah.
do a mock setup. Yeah. And in the boxes here are some of the sculptures that came back from the show just recently, or just work that never really made it to market. It's something we made and
Yeah.
it didn't work after it was all fabricated. This one's called fledgling. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe a fledgling. I was thinking of like cliffs and birds, you know, like a young bird. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, so it's like leaving the nest kind of thing. So the birds are glass, they're yellow birds, and so they're on cliffs just waiting to make their first move. That was the basis of that one. But it's kind of marked up for maybe possible revamp. So as we walk about, so this is my anchor piece. This is what my anchor piece
Okay.
is going to be. So this is the basswood after it's been planed down and cleaned up and generally roughed out the shape that I'm going for. On the wall is sort of like a rough sketch of what the plan is.
Okay.
So it's about 6-7 feet long, and it, I see you look worried.
No, this is amazing.
And so I plan to drill a series of holes in the boat, and then this wood, it's an ebony, and so there'll be black spots. Don't say polka dot, but black spots all over this.
Okay.
And so that's part of what the general plan will be. So it will be shaped.
Yeah.
So it's not very thick, so it's almost like seeing a three-dimensional sense of it, but there is a
Uh-huh.
feel.
Yeah, and you're work is dealing with kind of like different types of migration, forced
Yeah.
migration, displacement of peoples.
That's exactly,
Yeah.
So it started out, I was trying not to get too technical about it, like looking at the World United Nations idea of what migration is, how many people move per year, how many people are displaced per year. It started out with that idea. It was more or less people move in general, from crossing land bridges to just finding an island out in the Pacific, one place to another. It's just, I mean, the monarchs are migrating right now, and there's that magnetic pull that cause people or things to go. Salmon try to go back to their place of birth. People migrate from their dream is to go back to the place they came from. And sometimes they start new lives and never get back to where they came from, but there's always that desire that forces people away from where they're born and what brings them back. So I've taken that, I want to take that big idea and sort of distill it down to something that in some way reflects me, or because I'm an immigrant also. I was born in Jamaica, and my dad decided to move and picked us up and moved us.
Wow.
And here we are. So I think there's an extension of that.
Yeah.
So that is this is one of my sculptures called Wrist. And there's a boat idea on this one also. But this is about that. The idea is this boat is continuously moving. It's like you've seen a grist mill where the mule goes around.
Oh, yeah.
The grist, and it's just continuously walking in that circle. And it's generally this idea that it's almost like you're always on this treadmill.
It's like a perpetual motion.
So, this is designed just to give you the impression that it does roll, right? So, you might have to roll out the table.
Yeah.
So and I found these old carts. I love these old carts that people tend to make like coffee tables with them, or these old warehouse carts. And I thought I love like this glue. So I took them apart and just broke them down, make smaller parts. These are cast iron. Just make a smaller part of it and use it with the idea of motion, but as a conveyance in a way, different, just a surface. And on this, anything could, this is your plane of existence. You can do whatever you want here. This is your world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
So this is generally the idea of the boat with these dots. And dots started out as just pegs to hold the boat together, but then they also create a pattern because it breaks up the flow of this piece of oak. Yeah. And I just liked how that came out. So
I feel like they almost stand in for like the people.
Yeah. And that is the idea of that.
Yeah.
The migration aspect of it. Because it's not like what we learned in school about migratory, just say West Africans coming to this part of the country or the world, and you always see these pictures of people head to foot, and that's pretty much all we know unless you sort of look deeper at the process, But like my wife's grandmother came here as a 13-year-old with a suitcase. They put her on the ship, and she was supposed to meet family.
Wow.
And luckily, when she got here, a stranger said, "No, come here, little girl. We'll take you to where you need to get to."
Yeah.
But that happens where a child is, and now you can put a tag on the kid and they'll get to wherever they're going, but
it wasn't always that way.
It wasn't always that way.
Yeah.
So this is part of our storage space. My carts that I break down, and our train that's going by.
Yeah, we do have another train going by.
Yeah. And this is one of my sculptures. And this one I was trying to hone in on the idea of migration and chair and on movement. And it's sort of like the chair again becomes that place of your comfort, where this is home. But either living vicariously in wanting to take a trip, or actually taking that trip, or making that journey, or a number of times. So it's sort of like interpretive, whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
But for me, if you notice, there's like an imprint in the chair. Because in some ways, there's a measure of complacency in the fact that there's butt print in there, and I wanted to kind of shape it in there that you could sit and talk about the trip but never make the trip. You know, so there's that aspect of it. You get too comfortable and you get too busy, or things get too this or that you never make it, and it becomes just a trophy in your head. You know, it never happens. But I also love the idea of the ladder back chair.
Oh yeah. No, I love how the boats are kind of climbing up this chair. It's an interesting structure for like having this whole comfort and movement being put together.
So that's one of the print idea is, I'm not sure I can call it block print or how you've done it, but I took a rough print course where the instructor said, just do what you know how to do, just glue some board, don't put any nails in it to scratch my bed, and then we went and printed it up. So I did that years ago, and I'd like to somehow, and this is one of the prints that came out earlier. So a real printmaker would look at it and lose their mind. Okay, Meryl, just give it a rest.
No, I think it's I love the shapes. I think it's so cool. So what's it been like maintaining a studio for 30 plus years?
It's been hard because I think we're gatherers. You know, if you look around, there's tons of stuff, and a lot of this stuff is old things. When we got them, like my practice is if I go to a flea market or someplace and I find something or a surplus place, I'll never buy one of anything.
Yeah.
If it's wheels, I'll buy 8 or 10 of them. So you end up with just stuff. And in some ways, we always want to be prepared. We have plaster because we make molds. We have silica because silica is just the part that resists the temperature in a mold. So you need plaster silica for casting. So when we find a place we can buy some, we buy it. So we always have things. We have this lift. It's called a Hoyer lift, which we saw at the flea market and it's used for like in homes and medical supply.
Okay.
But you can lift and put something else. So here we are. So because you have all this space, you fill all this space.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten older, I've come to realize, well, this stuff has to go someplace because,
Yeah. I mean, the space is a luxury, but it's also after a certain point, it's like, ooh, there's a lot.
But the thing about the space is that we can never afford this space in the market now. So I shouldn't say it too loud because my landlord's there. But there's the other logistics with having a studio, insurance, utilities. If you have a business, every time you go on the road, you need to have that kind of insurance. You need infrastructure. So it's a good place to come back to, but just holding on to it. You have to heat it up with electricity when we have the ovens running. That's a lot of demand on us.
And I mean, it's like you've built it up and it's evolved over the years.
It has evolved over the
years.
Because I've gotten to the point where I'm not doing as many art fairs as I used to do. We would drive between here and Florida, Colorado, Texas to do shows. Michigan, a lot of shows in Ohio, because that's where we thought the best shows were, and they're juried shows. So if we can get into top shows, we would try and get into those shows, and so they would be far away. So we have to make a trip for it. So there are times when you're on the road for 70, 100 days doing shows, not all at once. So in some ways you don't enjoy the ride because you drive to Colorado, but you don't have time to stop in South Dakota and look at anything because you have to get home to make work for the next kind of shows. And just the way we've done it, we never did wholesale. We just make what we make. And hopefully somebody likes it, and it's working for us. So.
Has it been fun to kind of watch it evolve into more of a like mixed media, doing more sculptural work in addition to the glass?
That's what I've always done it. I've always made stuff. I just was never the lead part of my existence. When I came out of school, I went to the Institute of Art in Cleveland, as did my wife and lots of our friends. I thought, oh, I'd like to teach. My instructor taught school, had a great family, had a art fair career, like, teachers in the summertime. My wife would travel in the summertime. And I thought, God, I want to do that. It was pretty great. So, and when we came out of school, the professional practice aspect of it, I'm not sure what it's like now, but if you're if you're an artist coming out doing this work, it's like, okay, how do I sell this?
Yeah.
Do you know somebody who would give you a leg up into a gallery space, or to a gallery? Somebody might say, oh, send some slides, with slides or portfolio, or drop them off someplace. Yeah. And would you, whether or not you would ever see anything out of it. So, you have to figure out what else do I do to kind of keep it going, which a lot of artists do that nowadays.
Yeah.
Like you said, the professional part of professional artists, needs to be kind of.
Yeah, and it's something that's always changing.
Yeah, it is.
In things.
Yeah. And with this, when Etsy and all those other kind of social media platforms came about, and people made a jump to them, I was slow to that. I love going to art fairs. I love talking to the clients. I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes people I know they're not going to buy anything, but they just wanted to talk. I went to a show once, and this gentleman in the morning, I was there at the show, and he brought me bagels. And I was just like, okay. He's like, I didn't know where the bagels came from.
Oh my gosh.
He was sleeping on the bench the night before.
Oh no.
And I thought, he's so kind. But he gave them to me, I took them, and I couldn't throw them away. So I brought them all the way back from Michigan to Cleveland. And I don't know what I eventually did with them.
But yeah, having those like interactions, that's only something you could have like face to face.
It is. It's great. I mean, somebody will tell me about their family. Maybe their uncle was a glass blower, went to Corning, or something like that. So it's these connections, and plus some of my best friends are art fair artists who I've met at the art fairs. So there's a whole part of it, and then we made pretty good money sometimes.
Yeah.
And then when we started out, it was almost like a little tease. You'd have a crazy bad show, and like, I'm never doing this again. And then the next time was like, oh man, we can make a living doing this. So there was that whole play. But the sculptural part is, I enjoy sitting down to make something and think about it. And with the glass blowing, it's okay. I need to pay for my day. All right, I need to make enough money, so I'm paying for the day, pay myself. And then, which show are we going to?
Yeah.
Do I need the images? And we used to set up our own lights and take on images. Sometimes you see the slide and you can see a reflection in the piece. So it's like, oh, and you wouldn't know until you've taken it to the to the processors. So,
yeah, you didn't have like phone images where you can check it right then and there.
Yeah. And we couldn't afford professional people, and a lot of them weren't shooting glass. So you end up, but those are some of the things you kind of learn between you and your friends, and it's like building the shop. Our instructor said, and learning how to blow glass, it's almost impossible to see anyone blowing glass by themselves now. And when I was learning, it was like, well, you may be someplace where there's no one that can blow glass. You need to learn how to do things by yourself. So we had that practice, and building equipment. How do you build an oven? How do you calculate, the coils that heat up in the oven? How do you make those coils? So we learned all that stuff at least with friends.
Yeah.
And so we're grateful for that stuff. Now you can just call up an order. Back then it wasn't so.
Yeah. But now, I mean, have you been able to, I guess, like, make your tools more unique to you, or like change things to fit how you work, or
I sort of, if I don't have it, I try to figure out a way to do it.
Okay.
And a lot of times I'm like, okay, there's got to be a mechanical way to do it. It's just like taking your time, but it comes down to putting the time in. I wanted to make that seat, that metal seat, so I sat there and I did a mock-up of a chair, and then I carved out the butt print, and then I got the steel. I'm like, okay, I got to hammer it in there and go through that whole thing, So it was a fun part of it. It's like making those bead parts. I love just sitting and doing it, though, because you're hammering, you're thinking, this is not what I do, but I like this, you know?
Yeah.
And then how do I figure out how to do this part of it? And, you know, it takes time. And if time is money, I'm not making it because, you know, so there's that part. You know? But the art fair still will help to make this happen. And I love making this. And an opportunity like the Soul Train residency helps to give it a little venue to show this work. And I was fortunate enough to have a one-person show of some of my sculptures last year at a gallery called 60 Worlds, which is a brand new gallery. This guy Gary, it was a project of his to have a space to show some work of his friend who was a painter. He did it, and you know, after talking to him and his wife, they said, "Yeah, you can have a show." And I think they thought I was having glass. They said, "No, I have sculpture." And then I was like, "Oh, okay." but they came to see the work, and they liked it well enough to give me a show. And so that show helped to. I made enough work, so I had enough work to apply for your residency. And I was fortunate enough to get it. So I'm excited, and those are the sort of building blocks that I'm interested in right now. Whether or not I sell this or something else, I'm not going to say it's secondary, but for now, just being able to make the idea of like my anchor piece, that's sort of, when I heard that, okay, you're in, I thought, oh, that's my anchor piece. And
that's awesome.
You know, it's lived in my head because I don't do a lot of sketching. You know, so it's lived in my head for a little while, and since the wood, I had to change it from already.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure there'll be some changes made in the process, but it'll still hopefully be, not hopefully, it will be my anchor piece.
Yeah.
It'll be great. Yeah.
So we have a good question from our audience. How do you decide when a piece is complete? And do you have trouble deciding that, like when to keep or stop working on a piece?
I do. I have trouble doing that.
Yeah.
For instance, this piece here, I scraped on this thing for months, just sanding, and then I wanted to put a color when it was sort of a little bleachier, and I put it on there. It was like a milk painty kind of just a stain, and it would pick up in the grain. And then I did it, and I hated it. So I had to go back and.
So then you had to sand it all off.
Down. Yeah. And so this for instance, I've changed a number of times. Yeah.
Wow.
So sometimes if you live with it long enough, you know, one day I'll walk in and it's just like, oh, okay, like the yellow boat. I knew I wanted the yellow boat, so that was already there. But the seat, I wasn't sure about the seat of the boat. So there are some pieces that you just need to walk away from and leave it alone because you just keep kicking it. It doesn't get any better. Yeah, but there are times when, you know, and you could say, well, I should just make another one, but you kind of go in and you pick at it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but there are times when it's just best to leave it alone because that initial finish is just enough.
Yeah. No, I have that too, where it's like sometimes like, oh, does it need something or does it not need something? You just gotta like step away.
Something you have to live with. It
Fresh eyes, yeah.
So when you think you're done, then you walk away and then come back again. Yeah. And that's the thing about sculpture too. It's like I can walk out of the shop and listen to me. I'm just going on and on. You can stop.
No, this is great.
You can walk out of the shop, turn the lights off, and when you come back tomorrow, it's like you're looking at it with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
You know, and part of it, if you have a fresh, clean table, it helps. My friend who's a glass blower said once, you know, like if you pick up your tools and they're not all hanging off each other, you're not really blowing glass. And I think he was joking, but my welding table or my fabricating table gets that way. It's like, oh, I just put that thing down right there, and I just figured, okay, it's got to be an arm's reach. And it's looking right back at me, but I can't see it.
Yeah, it's in a pile of other stuff.
That fresh eyes does help when you go away and come back again.
Yeah.
You know, and you see it and like, okay, or from a different perspective. It's like sitting down on the ground and looking up at your work, or just any.
Ooh, I like that idea. Yeah.
Will give you a different sense.
Yeah, and like the cool thing with sculpture is like, you know, you can walk all the way around it. Yeah, existence
Yeah.
in like in
Yeah.
full space.
But sit on the ground and look up at it, or look at it from a different place. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a different sense.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for your question. Okay, so I think we're gonna start wrapping it up.
Oh wow.
Well, it's been an amazing tour. Let me turn my camera back around on me. So, thank you all for joining us. Thank you to Earl.
Hey.
Earl's Akron Soul Train residency project, titled Pathways and Passages, delves into the migration of people through various means. While the modes of human movement have evolved over time, the underlying reasons, including war, oppression, and need, continue to shape contemporary journeys. Don't miss Earl's show coming to the Akron Soul Train Gallery January 8th through February 15th, 2025. So first thing next year, you can enjoy the new year with us at the gallery. Thank you all for joining the live stream. Thank you again to Earl.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.